Hi, guys. I'm Danielle with the Full Out Cheer podcast, and I'm excited to be with Allie Taylor today. We are going to be doing an interview that I've never done before. So this is in person. We're right here in Warrensburg, Missouri, and we are going to be talking about what it's like to go from that home gym, D2 gym, up to a D1 gym with hopes of kind of leveling up and what that looks like in the years following that, because it's a big decision.
Aww.
Yeah. So Allie cheered at our gym for pretty much her whole childhood. Allie, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about like your experience as a cheerleader and like how you got started and stuff like that?
So I got started when I was 8 years old at Twisters, and we started with gymnastics and tumbling, and then quickly learned that cheer was just where my heart was at. And from there, I spent many years cheering, worked my way up from a novice team all the way to an elite team. I was on levels 1 through 3, and just continued doing that.
Mm-hmm. And you did that through high school, like the early years of high school, right?
Yes, I stayed with Twisters until right before I turned 16.
Okay. Yeah. And so, guys, I don't remember everybody's first day in our gym, and I don't remember everybody's like assessment to join a cheer team, but I do remember Allie's. I remember at our old gym, we had this like little back section. It was like 4,000 square feet. And I remember her parents, for sure your mom was back there. And I think your dad was there too. And I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, this kid is going to thrive in cheer. She's super smiley, super like peppy and joyful. And you caught on to things so fast. And I'm pretty sure you joined at a half-year team, which like, gosh, you have to catch on really fast to be successful with half-year teams because they just move so fast. Yeah. So, but I also remember it wasn't very long that you were on a prep team like that because you moved. I don't know that did you ever do level 1? I don't think so. I feel like you went from.
Maybe I didn't.
Yeah. I feel like you went from that youth level 1 prep team to like junior level 2 the next year.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. So if that doesn't speak to the talent and the skill level that Allie had naturally, like, I don't know what does. So, and now I don't want to skip ahead too far, but you are a college cheerleader also, right?
Yes. This will be my 4th year at the University of Central Missouri. And that's super exciting.
Yeah. If you look at the top of the pyramid, like not the mid, the top, a lot of times Allie is right there, kind of going between mid and top. And
just hanging out up there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So Allie, let's talk a little bit about, the whole idea of this podcast is I want gym owners who have small gyms, kind of like we do, to know what it was like as an athlete, feeling whatever you felt to the point where you felt like, okay, maybe I need to try something different.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing for me with deciding to make that switch was, one, it was not an easy decision to make. Twisters was my family. There's the gym I grew up in. I love them so much. Obviously enough, I came back. But making that switch was just mostly, I think, about getting myself out of my comfort shell and seeing like what else I could do.
Mm-hmm. And, like a lot of small gyms, we have definitely limits on what levels we can offer. We're in a military community, so very transient. And the highest we've had is a senior level 4, but back then it was level 3.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So what was that? Like, what was it like having to make that decision? What kind of things do you remember what was going through your head as a teenager?
I do. I was terrified, and me and my mom had like sat down and we talked about it, and she's like, are you sure this is what you want to do? Like, you're going to leave all your friends behind and everything. And I was like, I think so. I think this is the best like step in the direction for me. And I just remember like shaking walking to the gym when I had to like sit you guys down and tell you, because I wanted that to be in person. But it was very nerve-wracking because I did feel like I was leaving a piece of myself behind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you had hair on the mat, like chunks of hair from some of those inversions that, genuinely, I remember this one time. Yeah. And what was it like having that conversation? I guess, what did it feel like after it? After you told us, was it a little bit of a weight off your shoulders or?
It was. on a certain level. On another one, I felt just very guilty, I think, initially for leaving. But it did feel nice that I was comfortable enough to come and talk to you guys and know that regardless of my decision to leave, like I still had people I could count on.
And now that so I haven't even told you guys yet, Allie is also coaching for us at Twisters now. And she's coaching an elite team this year. No, you have multiple teams this year.
I have an elite team and a novice team.
Yeah. So now that you're a coach, thinking back, like what kind of traits do you think a coach needs to have for an athlete to be, and I'm putting you on the spot right now. What kind of traits do you think a coach needs to have for an athlete to be comfortable enough for those conversations?
I think the biggest thing is just letting the athlete know that like you are not upset with them for leaving. Like it's disappointing for sure, but like you're not upset. So like showing that throughout practice, like they can come up and talk to you and you're not just quickly turning them down or dismissing their ideas, their opinions. Like you're listening to them, even if you don't necessarily agree with them, and just making sure that they feel like seen and heard and cared for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let me ask, and I've actually never really talked to you about your transition. I made jokes because it's who I am, Allie. But I've never really asked you like the in-depth questions. But like, was there anything, this is hindsight because this was probably, well, what year did you graduate high school?
2021.
Yeah. Yes. So this was like 2018, 2019. So what do you think were the biggest factors influencing your decision? Was it the skills? Was it wanting to be on a world's team or like a bigger team, or what was it?
There was a couple. One of them was just, I think, the allure of going to such a big gym. Like there's so many people. And then there was more people for me to look up to, I think.
Yeah.
And another part was a lot of my friends that I was cheering with had started to kind of phase out of all-star cheer and just stuck with high school sports. And so I felt like I was losing part of that connection, and which helped make the push to move on to a different place.
Yeah. Well, and I can see that with my own kids. It is hard being the oldest, like in the oldest group of the oldest team in a gym. So what was that transition like when you went up there? Like, do you remember day one walking into the big gym?
I do. I was terrified. So one of the owners, Michael, he actually met me and my dad out in the parking lot and was like, they were just talking and brought me in to do like an evaluation, and we just went right into it. He was like, show me your highest skill you can do. And I was just like, my first day, like I didn't say a word. I was so quiet. And from there, just kind of like was like, okay, so you'll be put into a group at this time with people who are like similar skill level as you. We'll see how well you guys can work together and build stunts and tumble. And from there, it'll fluctuate whether you go up or down. And so it was very blunt. Like it was good looking back, but it was very blunt. It was very nerve wracking. And little me was just like shaking behind my dad a little bit, but it was good. It was just, very direct.
Yeah. I think the difference sometimes when you see like the small gyms, it's like sometimes you do get the owners or the coaches who are like, no, but I believe she'll get that skill this year.
Right.
Like, I believe she's capable of this. Whereas a lot of times the bigger gyms, like, you know, if they have athletes coming to them from another gym, they don't have anything to believe in you yet because they just don't know.
Exactly.
You know? Okay. So hindsight, that all happened around 2018, 2019. And for our listeners, I have literally never asked this question. Was there anything that you think we could have done as coaches or as a gym to have kept you?
I don't think, oh goodness. I don't think there was anything like coaching wise or gym wise that could have kept me, but I also don't think there was anything that was like the reason I wanted to leave. I guess the biggest thing would have just been being able to be on those, like having more people, which I know is limited here because we are in a smaller town, but just having someone else to look up to, I think was a big thing for me at the time.
Yeah, I can see that. And I think now that you're a college cheerleader who's a coach, do you feel like in some ways that path is starting to be created? Because even though we maybe don't, and maybe your answer is no, even though we don't have anything beyond senior 3 this year, like you look at the college team and you're like, whoa, like they've got some skills.
Yeah. And I agree with that. And I think that helps a lot of the kids now just back then, we just used CMN. Twisters just wasn't integrated as
Right.
they are now.
Right. So for our, D2 programs that might be listening, maybe that is a way, if you can't get those upper levels, maybe that's a way for you to kind of bridge that gap so your kids can see what's next for me by having a relationship with a university and having the ties with that program. Because I feel like now we're incredibly integrated. Well, and most of our staff cheers at UCM. So
we do.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you went into the big D1 program, what were your hopes and aspirations? What was your goal?
I wanted to be on a level 4 because that's where I felt like was going to challenge me enough. And boy, was I humbled. They put me back on a level 3, which hurt a little bit, but it was just a different level of competitiveness that I was not used to. So that was the right decision. My goals were just, I wanted to place really well at competitions. I was not there necessarily to make friends, whereas Twisters, I loved having my friends there. I was there to become the best that I thought I could be, to keep pursuing it in college.
Yeah. And I think that's a small group of athletes that can do that can say, I love this sport enough that if my friends aren't there, I still want to do it. That makes sense why you've then taken it so many more years beyond high school, So with Twisters being a smaller program, and I think at that time, before 2020, we had maybe 40 cheerleaders in our program, where today we're at about 150, 155 before half year teams start. And going from a small program to a large program, what were the biggest changes you saw, in the dynamics, in the social aspect, in coaching, in everything?
Yeah, there were definitely a lot of differences. One of them being that there was never if you didn't throw a pass that you were in, it was either pulled or they're just putting someone else in. It wasn't a whole lot of encouragement, oh, let's build them back up to get to it, because they had so many people that could just fill the spot if they needed to.
Right.
I would also say the coaching was a little bit more intense, just in the aspect of conditioning and just that old saying, waters of privilege. That's what we really lived by. Trash cans on the corners of the floors. They were just very vocal about how they felt about you as an athlete, whether that was your skill set, your image, things like that, which was a very big contrast.
For sure. And how did that play into your social life back? Well, I say back home, but it's an hour. How did that play into your social life, your ability to do high school cheer, stuff like that?
It made a bigger conflict with high school cheer because my schedule was different than anyone else who was still cheering at Twisters. And so that created some hardships between me and the coach at the time. And other than that, friends-wise, those kind of relationships definitely got a little more strained just because we were on opposite schedules and just not doing them together anymore. So I felt like I couldn't necessarily talk to them about what was going on because we weren't in the same boat anymore. They were doing something different than I was.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so now you're a coach today, as of today. Looking back at some of that, now that you have 6 years behind you of all that, what's your take on that today? And also, you have the coaching hat on. What's your take on that today? If a kid comes to you and they're like, Coach Allie, I want to do this. What's your reaction to that or your opinion on?
I would say part of me would be very, very sad just losing an athlete, and I guess feeling as if I hadn't done enough as a coach myself, even though I know that's not the case. I feel like that's just inherently what's going to happen. I think another part of me would be excited that they do want to continue it. They just love it so much they want to keep continuing it as much as they can.
Okay, for gym owners who are listening, and if you're part of a small program that's anywhere near a large D1 program, especially if they have worlds teams, gym owners lose kids, whether it's just a couple here and there or tons of them. What's your advice to a gym owner who is worried about losing kids or has recently lost kids? What do you tell them?
I would say as best I can is not to worry, because, which I know is sounds silly because I feel like all you would do is worry if you're losing your kids, because I feel like those fluctuate so much. They go to the next gym, but then you get that new wave of kids who's coming in and they're just as excited and they're so ready to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. And that actually aligns with what I tell people all the time. It's okay to be a feeder program as long as you can get new kids in the door pretty easily. And over time, you'll find that kids aren't going to forever feel like they have to go somewhere else. Like, you're going to get kids. I mean, there's a reason we have seniors that graduate every year, because you'll get kids that are like, no, I'm happy here. Or maybe they love high school cheer or they love band or something. And so they're like, this is a good program because it aligns with, that schedule. If there's a gym that can't offer a world's team or upper level teams, do you think there's anything they can do to kind of keep those kids close by, keep them challenged?
I do think there is things that people could do, gym owners could do. And I would say just really making sure that like practices are strong and structured, and it's not just a lot of like free time and downtime, like having a lesson plan. Yep. She makes me write my lesson plans and it's helped so much. Having those, and then just like really connecting with your athletes and making sure that they each feel a connection with you, because one, I think that's keeping them there. And two, that is not always something you get when you go to a bigger gym.
Yeah. And how did you feel? Like, there were some moments over those years that you were at the gym in Kansas City that you would walk in Twisters here and there for different things. You actually we owned a restaurant at the time, and Allie worked at the restaurant. Like, how do you feel like that dynamic or that relationship with Angie and I changed, or did it change?
I don't think it changed much between us. I think we kept a very like respectful relationship and dynamic. I would say personally, walking into the gym, sometimes I would feel a little awkward because it's like, oh man, like I did leave here and I'm back. But it never was awkward or from you guys. I think that was very internalized.
Yeah, teenage girls feeling awkward.
Yeah, like who would have guessed?
And I think that that's important for gym owners to hear, that like, even if you're hurt by it, even if you're frustrated or angry, or you feel like I don't know, like, I think the same way that the athletes can feel insecure in those circumstances, man, gym owners and coaches really, and now you're a coach, like you get it.
Right.
Like, gym owners and coaches definitely do too. But I think being the adult in the situation is really important, and making sure those kids know, like, you spent so long, like you were 8 years almost at Twisters, that like, that is your home, even if you're cheering somewhere else right now. And how did that impact, like, when you decided to go to college and you applied to work at Twister, like, how did that impact the future decisions, I guess?
Whenever I decided to go to college, I knew I wanted to come back to Twisters. Like, it was just such a big part of my life, and coming back genuinely did feel like coming back home. It was somewhere like I knew I was comfortable with. It's somewhere I knew I was welcome. And then it was just a great opportunity to get the different side of it. So now on the coaching side of everything.
Allie's a really hard coach, actually. So if you're wondering right now, like, this girl's coaching an elite team and a novice team, she's a tough coach. So, okay. And then do you feel like being in the coach's role now, like, how did the overall experience, small gym, large gym, super strict? I'm not going to say we're not strict, but I would say we definitely have our moments of like, okay, you have high school cheer practice, we'll push our practice back. Like, how do you think those two different dynamics have played into your role as a coach now, and like who you are as a coach?
I really do think they've given me like the best of both worlds, because I am very compassionate, more from the Twister side, and I've like a little bit stricter with certain things from the KC cheer side. So one of the things I learned like over there is, if you have like a problem with a coach, like, it's athlete talks to coach first. And that was something they made clear the minute I walked in the door, and it terrified me. Was like, okay, yeah, I'll just come talk to you.
Yeah.
Whereas Twisters, I feel like we are a lot more open to talking to parents, which I think is also great. But it has just definitely made me more cognizant of what I'm doing and who I'm talking to and how I'm talking to them, how I'm making them feel, since I've gotten both sides of the stick.
For sure. And do you feel like the two different types of environments have helped you in other parts of your life, like finding balance in, I don't know, anything with like college cheer or school or anything like that?
I would say so. Like we mentioned, I've been doing it since I was 8. And when I first started, it was competitive tumbling, competitive gymnastics, and competitive cheers, just a very
Mm-hmm.
busy schedule. And so I think that helps a lot now, being able to time management everything and kind of prioritize what needs to come first and what can kind of fall on the back burner. And just, I also think now I prioritize more working out and like health stuff
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't really have to when I was younger. It was just natural, like we're at the gym. And so I'm able to focus on that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Okay. Well, Allie, thank you for being on the Full Out Cheer podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Guys, if you have additional questions on this, just reach out to me. I am in the Cheer Gym Owners Facebook group and also the All-Star Cheer Coaches and Owners group. If you're a Twisters parent who listens to this, know that Coach Allie is a great one to talk to if you ever have those circumstances. That said, we're going to have a level 4 next year, so you don't really need to go anywhere, so don't worry about it. But yeah, it's been good to ask these questions because, of course, there's things that I've wondered over the years, and I just never asked them, and that's really not like me at all.
No,
To
it's not.
just say what I'm thinking. So awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Allie.
Thank you.